In today's free enterprise system, two unforgiving truths prevail: the big eat the small, and the quick outmaneuver the slow. My name is Peter Baldwin, author of the Amazon bestseller, Profit Peak for Entrepreneurs. My passion is helping everyday entrepreneurs grow their companies from inconsequential to extraordinary. Whether I'm in the boardroom, the conference room, or the war room, I am always working shoulder to shoulder with many great entrepreneurs. In this show, we interview successful entrepreneurs, learn from business thought leaders, and pay attention to current events and trends and how they impact our businesses. Join us as we demonstrate that the American dream is still alive and well to those courageous enough to take the journey. This is Profit Peak for Entrepreneurs. We welcome you to another edition of Profit Peak for Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Peter Baldwin. Today's topic is the families behind family-owned businesses. It's easy to supersize the importance of our work life at the expense of our family life. Sometimes we need a reality check. A job loss, a sick or struggling family member, a strained family relationship, all these family dynamics are signs that our families are what's most important to us. Think about it this way. Each day when you go to work, you are on loan from your family, and you are accountable to them and responsible for making sure your time away from home was used well. And when you do go home, you put work life on hold and focus on family life. Well, that's easy to say, but we need to remember to practice it in real life. Many businesses are family-owned and have more than one family member working in them. Sometimes it's a husband and wife ownership team, or two or more siblings, or even multiple generations working together. Family in the workplace makes for an interesting dynamic. In some instances, families don't get it right. Other times, they do remarkably well together. At times, family members aren't even qualified to hold key positions in their companies. When unqualified family members are placed in critical positions, then the company suffers. A culture of nepotism creates resentment from others and causes good and qualified people to eventually float away to other companies. Occasionally, trust between family members is violated when one or more members steal from the business. Fortunately, there are many family-owned businesses that get it right. They ensure each family member is qualified to hold his or her position. They create a healthy work dynamic, and they maintain home and family balance. We've got a great lineup today focused on the families behind family-owned businesses. Our reporter, Elizabeth Baldwin, is at Southfork Ranch, where we'll hear about a dysfunctional family business from the TV show Dallas. Then we'll leave the world of fiction and meet real-life entrepreneurs Matt and Dana DeVance, the owners of DeVance Electronic Lifestyle. After that, Kevin Hinckley, president of CoveFort Consulting, will share some ideas about workplace communication. And finally, Steve Starobinsky, founder of Kid at Heart, will help us explore trends in the fun industry.
Profit Peak for Entrepreneurs is brought to you by Intualize, unlocking the power of your business data. Dot Connect, connecting the financial dots of your enterprise, and WealthWave, disrupting the financial planning industry so families can dream again.
I have known and worked with each of our sponsors for many years, and I hope you will consider using them. Now, let's go to our Profit Peak reporter, Elizabeth Baldwin, who is at Southfork Ranch. Tell us, Elizabeth, what the viewers want to know. Who shot JR?
Who shot JR? That's a great question. I had to find out for myself because my generation didn't grow up watching the TV show Dallas. The show started in 1978 and ran for 14 seasons. It was broadcast in over 90 countries and dubbed in 67 languages. The show weaves an intriguing storyline of the dysfunctional Ewing family and their family-owned oil and ranching businesses. The show was set right here at Southfork Ranch, which is just north of the city of Dallas in Parker, Texas. Southfork Ranch is now an event center and, yes, tourist destination complete with a museum where you can buy souvenirs from the TV show. The landscaping and rooms reflect the life and times of the Ewing family. J.R. Ewing's bedroom is even decorated to appear as the crime scene where he was shot. The main character, J.R., is the middle generation of three J.R.s. J.R. Sr. trained J.R. Jr. to be just as greedy and cutthroat as he was. The J.R.s leveraged their business to fuel their excessive lifestyle. The various Ewing family members dealt with the family misdeeds and aggression in many different ways. Some fought back, some ignored the bad behavior, and yet others were pushed out of the family business. The family feuded until the very end, with JR eventually losing everything. Over 90 million viewers tuned into the season-ending cliffhanger episode, A House Divided, which ends with the mysterious shooting of JR. In true TV fashion, we have to wait until the next season to find out who shot JR. Was it an accident, a random act of violence, or maybe even a business deal gone bad? No. The crime was committed by a disgruntled family member embroiled in the family business. The shooter was JR's very own sister-in-law, who had entangled herself in family and business affairs and who had gained the ire of JR himself. The show storyline illustrates the clash between different leadership styles, the consequences of mistreating the people around you, and the importance of focusing on what really matters. I'm not recommending that you watch all 14 seasons, but the show does exemplify and sensationalize some problems found in family-owned businesses. And at the end of the day, we learn that integrity and communication are essential to a successful family-owned business. I'm Elizabeth Baldwin, and this is Profit Peak News.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that soap opera story of a dysfunctional family business. Back in the early 90s, I was a missionary from my church in Budapest, Hungary. Our goal was to find people to talk to. I noticed an odd pattern on Thursday nights that started at 7 o'clock and lasted an hour. We had a difficult time finding people to talk to. I soon learned that everybody was at home watching the TV show Dallas, which was an extremely popular show in Hungary. I remember looking up at the multi-story apartment buildings and seeing synchronized flashes from the many TV screens all tuned in to Dallas. It was an amazing sight. Coming up, we'll meet with Dana and Matt DeVance, owners of DeVance Electronic Lifestyle. Today we're in for a real treat. If you need to automate something in your home or business for your office or entertaining, exercise, or even mealtime, then our next guests, the owners of DeVance Electronic Lifestyle, have an automation solution for you. And we've managed to track them down. They are very active in their business and some other things. So meet Matt and Dana DeVance. Welcome, and thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Happy to be here.
Well, this is a show about entrepreneurial spirit. And you guys have started a business. And would you let us know a little bit about how you started DeVance Electronic Lifestyle and what the company does?
Sure. I started the company back in 2002. And it was based upon a need that I saw back in 2002, where clients were getting into technology more and more, And the main thing that they wanted was, as this technology was coming out and improving and getting better and more fun, they wanted somebody that could service that technology and make sure it kept running for them. And when they had an issue, take care of the issue quickly and respond fast, answer the phone. And so it made it easy. I was working for a retailer at the time, and I'd built up a pretty good clientele based on giving people excellent service. And so that retail establishment decided to go kind of in a different direction, more mass market as opposed to custom, which is what I was used to. So it made it easy for me to make the decision to go out on my own. And I had built such a good clientele where they were referring their friends and families to me consistently. So the transition from working for a retail environment and then going out on my own was pretty seamless, because the business just kept coming. People just kept referring business to me. And so I just kept fulfilling the need. And at that same year, I met Dana, and she was working in the corporate environment. And about in 2007, Dana was able to leave the corporate environment, come on board with me, and she was kind of the catalyst for us getting more structure, getting more people, taking things off of my plate instead of me doing everything. I had one installer with me at the time, so it was me. I was doing all the sales, I was doing all the everything. And so she was the catalyst of coming on board and helping delegate and change our whole basically environment by getting the right people on board with us that could take things off of my plate. And next thing you know, we're in an office space. We have 6 or 7 people. And then from there, it grows into getting a showroom in 2011. And now today we're in the process. We just bought a building and we're building out a new showroom, and we're up to 15 people, and we continue to grow. And we really have founded our core values are taking care of people like family. And because of that, it's really taken us to a different level and allowed us to grow and have fun doing it.
Terrific. And you've mentioned a couple of themes that you're a family business and you take care of the customer. So I wanted to ask a little bit about both of those. So you're married.
Currently, yeah, we're married.
and so you have a relationship at home and you have a relationship at work. And I always like to ask the husband and wife teams, how do you make it work? How do you let go of work and have your family life too?
I'll say we're the same people at home and at work. And I think it's important that people who work for us and our clients understand that we are husband and wife, and we do love each other, and we love the people that work for us, and we do love our clients. But I think it's really important for a husband and wife team to understand who does what. A lot of challenges with husband and wife teams, from what I've understood in the past, is somebody is trying to get in the way of what the other person is doing, or trying to get their fingers too much involved in what the other person is doing. And each of us are professionals in our own right, but I know very much when I need to be supportive of him, and I also know when it's time for me to pipe up and contribute something that maybe he hasn't thought of. And so we work really well off of each other in that way. We support each other, and at the end of the day, taking care of people like family is our core value, our first core value of 5 actually. We take care of ourselves, and take care of each other. And, a lot of it also boils down to picking your battles. And as a company grows, and in our specific example, as we grow, we learn that there's a lot of give and there's a lot of take. And there's 2 steps forward and maybe a step or a step and a half backwards. And sometimes you just have to roll with that and learn from it and just keep plowing on together, knowing that we're partners in life, we're partners in business. And so this partnership has to have a friendliness to it. And if you can't get along because you're too busy being right, it's definitely going to throw a wrench into what you're trying to build together. So I think we work really well off of each other in that way.
And that's terrific experience, and thank you for sharing that. So going to the customer service aspect, what is your service philosophy? How do you make this work for your clients?
I think what I've realized over the years, I've been in this industry now since '93, and the main thing that a client wants is communication, and they want to know when they have an issue, how fast can it get resolved. So we try to make sure that we're communicating with the client of what's going on with their project, and when there's issues, how fast can we resolve those issues. And in doing so, a lot of the other things just kind of become just a day-to-day routine. And we find that our clientele becomes very happy just because of those small little details.
Terrific. So home and office automation, what's the future of automation?
I think, especially this year, what we're seeing, the trends are home offices, obviously. I'm starting to see builders now build 2 home offices, and even a flex space that could be turned into school. The children need to stay home and do some homeschooling. So the building trends a lot of times dictate some of the things that we're doing in our industry. And right now, some of the building trends are dual offices, a flex space, and that's opening up the door for us to also be able to provide a workspace at the home where you can do video conferencing, audio conferencing, and do everything that you normally could do in an office now at your home. And that's just become major. It's become really, really big. And this year it's just taking off. I'm seeing a lot of manufacturers really focus on products that can be in the home office right now. And it's nice to, as far as the automation side of it goes, be able to go in, open a laptop, and get right to work and start communicating with whoever you need to communicate with. So that's been huge for us.
Yeah, and in my home, when this pandemic started, and I found myself home officing with 3 children around the table, we really could have used some more partitions, dividers, but we made it work the best we could. And it sounds like you've thought about some of these solutions that families have, and workers have when they're at home working. So that brings me to the pandemic. Has the COVID-19 pandemic affected you this year?
Yeah, it definitely has, especially at the beginning when everybody just didn't know what they didn't know, and so everything just kind of came to a standstill. So we had a lot of projects going on that just put a pause on what was happening. So we had about 2 months of not knowing what was going on, and it was pretty slow because everybody was trying to figure out what was going on. Fortunately, we were considered an essential business because we help people work from home and get their networks going. So we were able to continue doing business, which was very, very good for us, and keep our people employed, keep everybody, working, and so they can still make an income. And as people started figuring out more about the virus, then it allowed us to do more and more work, and people really realized, okay, I want to start doing stuff in my house. I need to get it updated so I can have home office. Let's go ahead and do this project or this project. And when that happened, it was probably May or so, it seems like the gates just opened and everybody was calling, and everybody was kind of focused on what can we do to improve our house since we're kind of stuck here, and we could be for a while. So we've been blessed, and we haven't taken that lightly, and we're doing everything we can to help our clients continue to be able to do their business as well.
And there's so much that's happened this year. So I first met you guys through the Rotary Club of Dallas. Mm-hmm. And Dana, you just completed a term as the president of the Rotary Club of Dallas. And if I remember correctly, you're the 3rd female president the second, I stand corrected, president of the club in its almost 100-year history. Yes. So you're a real trendsetter in many ways, both of you are. So what would you tell those out there who want to do stuff that maybe they didn't feel like they had access to?
It was a wonderful thing for me to be exposed to Rotary. About 12 years ago now, I discovered the Rotary Club of Dallas through the recommendation of a friend. And I think everybody should find what they're passionate about as far as giving back to the community and dive into that. When I walked into the Rotary Club of Dallas for the first time and realized this is not necessarily my demographic and that I'm one of the few women in the room and one of the few younger people in the room, I didn't let that deter me. I get along great with people of all ages and all walks of life and races and everything else, and I didn't have any issue with that. I know a lot of people walk into a room and if they don't see a mirror image of themselves, they get kind of intimidated and walk away. I would just say, walk in and be you. And I'm really excited that I was the first woman president in 30 years. The first woman president, actually the first, was in 1987, I think, or 1988. And that was the year that Rotary allowed women to join the club. So huge kudos to her. And then 30 years later, I come along, and now next year we have a woman president, Cindy Jansen, going to step up and be the president. And then after her is Rachel Jones. So I'm really excited that we have two wonderful and powerful women coming in to be president of our club. So I'm excited about that.
And that's terrific, and a way to light the way for others to come along. So my last question has to do about this idea of service. So you both get involved in some different things. Is there something that you've been doing lately that you could share with us?
Sure. We had the opportunity, one of our clients who we were doing work for him and his wife in their home, he's very involved in the Make-A-Wish Foundation and invited us to do a Make-A-Wish project with him. And so we're actually installing that today. The project isn't quite ready for us. And one of the delicacies about working with electronics is the dust has to be cleared, so to speak. So you don't want to install beautiful electronics and then have dust and paint and other things get on it and mess up the functionality of that. So we did not install today, but we're doing a patio makeover for a beautiful child who's unfortunately suffering from a terminal illness. And we're really excited to be able to turn that over to her in the next week or so. And her dream for Make-A-Wish was to have TV on her patio. So the whole patio has been redone. A new cover has been built, a new hardscape and softscape and beautiful landscaping. And we're just putting the icing on the cake, so to speak. We're just bringing out a TV and a sound bar and making it a little enjoyment for her entertainment out there. So that's a huge pleasure for us.
Well, thank you for coming on today and being part of our community of small to medium-sized businesses. And I hope that all of us will find out more about DeVance Electronic Lifestyle, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thanks again for having us.
Thank you so much for having us on. We appreciate it.
Next up, after a word from our sponsor, we'll hear from Kevin Hinckley, president of CoveFort Consulting, about family communication in the workplace.
For most small businesses, managing books, cash flow, and making informed decisions is a serious challenge. This is because of lack of an all-around team, information, and technology. The right solution has to be with a good mix of people, process, technology, and methodology. With a proven model to deliver results, .Connect's value proposition helps small businesses to run finance operations like the big corporations, with seasoned team and technologies, in office and remote. Connecting the dots across finance functions, .Connect is the trusted advisor for small businesses to manage finance and accounting better and cost effective. You can reach us at info@.connect.io.
Hi, my name's Kevin Hinckley. I'm the president of CoveFort Consulting, and I've had an opportunity to be working with couples for about 30 years, getting a chance to see them in a lot of different situations. Congratulations if you've made the decision to try and work as a couple or a partnership in a business. That brings with it a lot of possibilities. It also brings with it a lot of challenges. One of the things that I have found in the process of helping couples in making this step is that you have to be able to understand that your business effectiveness will never rise higher than your relationship effectiveness. Good relationships open up all kinds of possibilities with businesses. Struggle in a relationship and you will constantly cap and handicap your businesses and company's ability to move forward. Why is that? Well, let me explain. What happens in a relationship where we have an equal opportunity, where we have two different people, but each brings with them their own particular strength. They are different, but equal. Think, for instance, in a small business where one happens to be the financial person and the other one is the marketing. They bring with that their individual strengths and they raise the entire level of the company. But that works as long as the relationship is collaborative and it is equal. It works as long as there's communication and there's an honest transparency between the two so that they're able to move forward. What happens though in those business relationships run by married couples, for instance, that really struggles? One of the things that I have found is that those problems begin to rise when you look back into the relationship and you find that rather than it being an equal relationship, one of those parts of the relationship has begun to take a more dominant or parent role, and that by default sends the other one down into a child role. Think about your own experience. If you're in a position where somebody is dominating or controlling or calling all the shots, and that puts you into a child position, what you have a tendency at that moment to do is either become apathetic or passive or rebellious. You have some way of pushing back against somebody that is trying to call all the shots or trying to control you in some way. Conversely, let's say that you're in a situation where you really don't care very much, or you're being irresponsible, and you put yourself in kind of a child role. You force somebody else to come up into the parent role. So they are, whether they like it or not, it ends up being an unequal situation based on the fact that they're having to take on more than what they want as you take on less. Picture, for instance, a couple trying to carry maybe a large log, for instance. And if one is not carrying their end of it and the other one has to carry more, you get resentment on one side and you get apathy on the other. Successful business relationships rely on not being one-sided, but they're able to equal out to the point where they draw equally on each other's strengths and weaknesses. That means accepting and respecting what the other brings to the table. If we don't do that, we begin to think that our part of the pie, our part of what we're carrying here is far more important. And because of that, we begin to put a little bit more emphasis on our part and we devalue the other. The more we devalue somewhere else, the more we begin to drop. Now, if you're a couple watching this and you're wondering if this is the case, think about going home. Think about how things work around the home. If in that setting, one of the spouses is a little bit more controlling and a little bit more dominating, or one is a little bit more recessive, think about the resentment that begins to cause within you. So the most important aspect that comes is your business, and the strength and power of your business is going to rely on a solid relationship in the business, and the best way to do that, and where it has to start, is the relationship that you have in home. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Kevin, for that great lesson on communication. Coming up after a word from our sponsor, we'll meet Steve Starobinsky, founder of Kid at Heart. Steve works with entrepreneurs to commercialize their toys and games. I can't wait to see what he brought with him.
As a mid-sized industrial distributor, you run a machine with plenty of moving parts. From sourcing to inventory management, sales operations to cash flow hurdles, optimizing every facet of your business can be an incredibly tall task. That's why we build Intualize. Designed by industrial distributors for industrial distributors, Intualize is a predictive analytics platform that captures and organizes the mission-critical data you need to maximize your business's growth and cash flow.
We always end our show with a fun, exciting segment, and I think today is going to hit that mark. We have with us in our studio Steve Starobinsky. He's the founder of Kid at Heart. And
sorry, man, I'm just dancing. I'm pretty happy. Thanks for having me on the show.
Definitely. So Kid at Heart, that sounds really cool. So I think I want to change my title to that. But what does that mean?
I just thought this thing of play we disconnect from as we grow up. And I have been in the toy industry for over 20 years. My job was to find new products and continue to find new products that I could sell to mass market and smaller retailers and bookstores and clothing shops and really bring this idea of play to retail. So with that in mind, I was able to find new products all over the world, and it was so fun. I noticed that it was doing something to me. It made me better. I played as an adult. And so maybe founder of Kid at Heart just means this plug back in, you played as a kid. Don't let anybody tell you it's not okay to do that as an adult. It's fine, man. Enjoy it.
Your travels have taken you around the world, so I think you've got some exciting stuff you're going to talk today with us about. And our theme is families and getting along and wholesomeness. So share with us, your travels or what you brought.
Yeah, the toy industry specifically, first, it's a $20 billion industry. Second of all, it's having a great year in 2020. For some obvious reasons, a lot of people are at home and kind of rediscovering play as a family. So with that, the biggest trending super category is game and puzzles. And something unique is happening in that category where a white space is emerging. Some games have gotten a little too maybe risque, and some games have maybe become a little bit too strategic. So this white space opened up for family gaming, something wholesome. And this idea of wholesomeness began to trend in society. I think the toy industry's answer to that new demand of creating memories offline or online on Zoom is this product from a company in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Solid Roots. They're a family company that played games as a way to spend time together. And they found that there was a few things that the game industry kind of forgot. They made it a little too specific. They excluded people maybe of a different generation or a different age. In Mind the Gap, that's brought together. You learn from the other generations, you collaborate. And I think it's going to be an amazing product when people get home. This is my pick for Family Game of the Year 2020, Mind the Gap.
All right, so Mind the Gap, the concept is you gather your family, you have different generations, and you can play it together.
Correct. Instead of fighting amongst the generations, you collaborate. You go around the board answering pop culture, history, music questions, and learn from Grandma when she answers a question about I Love Lucy, while she learns from Little Johnny when he answers a question about a famous YouTuber. It validates all of those trends that are different in the generations and celebrates them. That's what I think is so universal about this product.
That sounds like fun, and I can't wait to play it with my family. So you've got something else also to share with us, Steve. What else did you bring?
I do. This one is a digital offering because when you get your phones and check out the number 7 days of play on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook is one of the coolest idea factories in kids creative. Because Michelle and her 3 children have created a channel of creativity and not while not greenwashing sustainability. They're actually extending play by using household items and creating an account that inspires moms to be creative, to play themselves.
And where do we find this?
At 7 Days of Play. It's we have a website at 7 Days of Play, Instagram, our TikTok, and Facebook, of course. It's all over. And Michelle is an incredible mompreneur. Yeah, give her a follow. You'll see why she's special.
And this show is for entrepreneurs, and we celebrate the new up-and-comers, and this 7 Days of Play is one of those stories, and they've got a lot more subscribers than they used to have, so this is a success. And my understanding is they're catching the attention of some of the big players too.
Absolutely. It's an interesting case study because when I met them in October 2019, they had 80,000 organic followers. By today, they're at 500,000 on Instagram and 500,000 new followers on TikTok. They've exploded.
Steve, you've brought us some wonderful things to play and to get involved with our family. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Profit Peak for Entrepreneurs. And all you entrepreneurs out there, make sure you have time for your family. In today's episode, we focused on the families behind family-owned businesses. We enjoyed Elizabeth Baldwin's report from Southfork Ranch about the travails of the J.R. Ewing family. We interviewed Matt and Dana DeVance and gained some great insights on working together effectively to run a successful business. Kevin Hinckley reminded us that workplace communication between spouses should be kept on an equal level. And we spent a few moments with Steve Starobinsky, who shared some trends on wholesome fun. This concludes our family episode of Profit Peak for Entrepreneurs. We'll catch you next time. Until then, may your cash flow and your profit peak.